Howdy, folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got a great show for you. Oh, with my co-host, Hawkeye Two Feathers, David Null. Thank you for being here.
Greetings and blessings, everybody. A couple minutes late, as you know, sometimes we need to take an extra minute to get our stuff together. But we greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And we always hope that you're doing as well as possible. And we always thank you for coming and sharing the time with us. So here we go.
Oh, yeah. Well, sometimes it takes a while for YouTube to send out those notifications. Well, that's the bad part. So anyway, but tonight we are going to do Little Turtle of the Miamis. And Little Turtle, man, he was quite the guy in the Illinois, Indiana area. So last week, if you didn't catch it, we did Tecumseh. And Tecumseh, he was one of those big chiefs back then too. Very well known. And Little Turtle was pretty much on the same, a level, to put it simply. He was right there. The only thing I think that set Tecumseh off was he had that vision thing, he could see the future of things. And so him and his brother, who was a prophet, they kind of could really, get things done. So let's see where we're going to start here. Oh, I got too many pictures up. Anyway, let's see. Let's start out here, I think. No, not the Battle of Fallen Timbers, but with Little Turtle's War. There we go. And there are books out there with Little Turtle. And present. I always got to present. Share screen. There we go. Everybody can see that. Little Turtle's War. Little Turtle, he was born in 1752. Back in the day, and I got my wrong glasses on for this computer, that's for sure. Anyway, he was born in 1752, lived a good long life till 1812. The War of 1812. Seemed like a lot of those guys were dying off about that time, about the time the war ended, Like I said, and then the people started moving west. The Miami people. Where was the Miami people located? And that would be the next big question. And we have answers for you. Let's see, right here. Of course, we've got another picture. Here, the Miami people, they were down in the Indiana, Illinois area. As you can see from the map here, they took up a big chunk of country, the Lenape or the Delaware, the Shawnee, the Illinois, the Potawatomi, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana areas.
Don't forget Ohio.
Yeah, and Ohio too. Yes, Ohio territory right here. Got to know your states, right? So Little Turtle was born. He was a half-breed. And believe it or not, these old books really do pay off, because this is where I, get call all the time. Hang on a second. Let me try to turn this down. Okay. He was a half-breed. His mother was a Mohican woman, and by civil law of the Indians, she was basically a slave woman. And the condition of her offspring were also considered to be lower class slave type people. But, he showed considerable enthusiasm, and he was great at things and moved up the ranks, you could say. It says the descendants are generally the same in the civil law of the relation to slaves. There, the condition of the offspring follows the condition of the mother, and the turtle had no advantage whatsoever from his father's reign. However, he became chief at an early age. for his extraordinary talents that attracted the notice of his countrymen even at boyhood. Well, and he showed a lot of promise. Now, he wasn't the only half-breed out there that became quite famous. And I have another one in here, and his name was here. McGillray, or also known as Hawkeye Hinko Miko. He was also born around 1750 and lived till 1793 and was a Muskegee of the Creek. This guy, he had a Scottish father and a Muskegee mother. He also he'd advanced himself because he could speak the language. And the Indians, especially the Creeks, didn't really have a leader type, a chief leader over everybody, but he learned the practice of trade, and which brought him up the rankings. So there you go. And so, it was these half-breeds, I think, that really changed the way the Indians could operate, because they were like one thinking, but then when the half-breeds came in, somehow or another, the half-breed Indians could really, think from both sides. I don't know how that is. We have another one that was a Buckanogulus. Him together with Little Turtle and Blue Jacket. We got a lot of famous names in here. We studied Blue Jacket a few weeks ago. They achieved the greatest victories won by the Native Americans, especially killing 600 people. He was generally and nationally renowned a Lenape chief, a counselor, and a warrior. He was active in the days of French and Indian wars. There's a picture of Buckanogulus. But he was born in present-day Delaware around 1720 by Lenape parents. British colonists called him the Delaware after the river. So anyway, as you can see, these famous guys were all born around the same general time. Let's see if we can get back to our guy here. There's a lot of pictures out there, and I had a really hard time finding one that would match up with a Little Turtle. But I could tell which ones it were because, as we discussed before, they all were wearing this George Washington medallion. Seems like all the Indians that lived around that time all had one of these medallions. I can figure why. And you can see it better in this picture. Picture of 1797. But again, as you can see, that does look like a George Washington picture. So I imagine that would be him. Anyway, Little Turtle, he was friends. He was friends with the Potawatomis, the Delawares, the Shawnees, the Chippewas, the Ottawas, the Miamis. But he lived in an area called Fort Wayne, Indiana, which stands today. And we can get a picture of that better here, since we're going to be talking about this. And here's Fort Wayne. And why did the Indians live around Fort Wayne? It's where the rivers all intersected. This was a big trade route here. And originally, the Miamis did not live in Fort Wayne. They lived somewhere else. But during trading, since this was French territory, the Indians got along with the French really good, because the French came in and mostly wanted to trade, and they weren't interested in scarfing up all the land and putting houses on it and kicking the Indians off. They just wanted trade. And the Indians liked that because they could improve their life dramatically.
But also remember, though, the French at the time that this was going on, they owned all that land until the Louisiana Purchase in 18 whatever with Lewis and Clark, right?
Yes, 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 they
So,
did.
so that was actually all French land still, by
Yes,
by the way.
yeah. When a guy named LaSalle came along, he realized that this was a great spot for where Fort Wayne stands today. It was under a different name at the time, and the Indians. He convinced the Indians of the time, the Miamis, which the river, as you can see in this picture, is the Miami, which is a mispronunciation of Miami, which we call today. Which who knows what their language would have sounded like, but somehow this river was named after the Miami tribe, and it's mispronounced. That's at least that's what I've read. Anyway, they lived. They were convinced to move their tribe or their village over to this area where Fort Wayne is, where all the three rivers connected. And as you can see, here's the river, and it connects right in that area, which the Indians were friendly at the time, and they made great trading partners. These Indians traded for everything. They improved the land. They put in bridges and culverts, and because we think of them as like savage people that didn't know anything, but that's not the truth. They made but they made money on it too. They charged for taking people across the river. They improved the riverbanks. They, like I said, they made bridges, and they charged tolls, and they grew crops and sold them to the traders that came along. They hunted the land and traded pelts and furs for things they needed, like clothing and pots and pans and guns, and bullets and black powder and all these good things that they were, they needed.
And axes.
Yes. So they were improving their lives. Yes. All those good things, they were improving their lives. And as they improved their lives, they improved the land and literally built up everything around it. So this was a good thing for them. But as time went on, the area was invaded. And as you can see, here's Little Turtle, his village over here, the Wabash River, a lot of rivers, Prophetstown. This is where Tecumseh lived. So all these Indians were along these rivers, and they did a lot of trading in here. Of course, this is the Ohio area, the Indiana area. This was rich in furs and buffalo, and you name it. There was a lot of things in here, this area. Here, Tecumseh's birthplace down here, Ohio River. So this was big Indian territory, and there was a lot of them down here. They were well established. They grew crops, did a lot of trading, and the British and the French really, were in this area. And we went through this before on the last with Tecumseh. Little Turtle, he was one of the first followers of Pontiac, and then Tecumseh. And Tecumseh and him, like I said, they were born about the same time. Other chieftains of various tribes were the Buchanalogus, we were talking about, of the Delawares. Blue Jacket, we did a show on him just recently.
Hang on. You mentioned a name, Pontiac, and then you skipped right over. Who?
Yeah.
Who? Right, but
Pontiac.
Who is Pontiac?
Pontiac was he was one of the, I forget which Indian he was, but he was one of the first Indians that was fighting the British in Michigan area for the French and Indian War.
Okay.
But Pontiac had long since gone. And now these other Indian tribes were coming along. And we've talked about the Shawnee, Blue Jacket of the Shawnee. He was a high reputation warrior. And we don't know much about Blue Jacket, so we really can't go in there. Then we had these other Indians, which I never heard of before. The Mississaugas. I don't know who they are, but I really was interested in these Indians. Have you ever heard of these people before? It's like it's almost like Mississippi, but Mississaugas. They're a group of First Nation people located in southern Ontario, Canada. They are a subgroup of the Ojibwe Nation. Never heard this name mentioned before. It says here, according to oral histories, the Nisabi, after departing the second stopping place near Niagara Falls, the core Anasabi people migrated along the shores of Lake Erie to now what is now southern Michigan. They became lost, both physically and spiritually. And the Mississaugas migrated along a northern route by the Credit River. Never heard of that river either. To Georgian Bay. They were considered their historic traditional lands on the shores of Lake Superior and northern Huron around the Mississauga River. Well, and you guys can look that up if you want to find out more, but we might dig deep into those people later on. And, because I thought that was quite the thing. I never heard of these people before. Like I said, it's all coming together. Well, as people moved across the Appalachian Mountains, they wanted to settle in some of these areas. And like I said, they were coming into Ohio along these rivers. Of course, that's where you set up rivers. And that's where all these tribes were. That's where their money was being made. But they were getting pushed out because of the white man coming in, shooting the animals, fencing off the land, which made them very mad. Of course, the United States was starting to become the United States. The colonies were fighting the Revolutionary War, and the Indians were holding their own out here. But as we know, that doesn't all work forever. And there was trouble. Okay, so we're going to go back to Little Turtle.
Let me interject something here.
Yes.
The white man was killing all the animals, but also because of the white man and trading, the Indians were killing more than normal.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was the Indians weren't trying to wipe it out, but because of the white man and selling furs and so forth, that increased the demise of the animals as well.
Oh, exactly.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's all right. Okay, so we got here. It says, well, during the Revolutionary War, the Miami gave some assistance to the British. And Little Turtle, well, as Tecumseh and all of them, they kind of partnered up with the British. They may have participated in the defeat of the detachment of Augustine LeBlanc or on the attack of the British post of Detroit in 1780 after the Peace of Paris. The Indians continued to resist American expansion north of Ohio. And Little Turtle probably led small forays against the white settlements. Of course, we know that's to be true because it was a dangerous place to live in Ohio. Now, before 1790, the Miami villages of the head of the Maui, now present-day Fort Wayne, had become the focus of many American Indians displaced by fighting with the Kentuckians farther east, particularly the Shawnees and the Delawares. And we know that to be true because of all the fight. Kentucky was one of the first places to be settled. Daniel Boone, remember? Anyway, Brigadier General Joshua Harm led almost 1,500 troops to attack this concentration in October 1790, burning American Indian villages. Little Turtle was one of the chiefs orchestrating the defense. Following year, an American army led by Arthur St. Clair advanced upon the Miami towns, but his troops were overwhelmingly defeated in November 1791 by a multi-tribal force. Miami accounts credit Little Turtle with being the overall American Indian commander of this occasion, although a number of other sources named Blue Jack. And I think it was kind of a mix there. And we do have a little bit of who was Sinclair. I got Sinclair here somewhere. Well, that's the wrong guy. It's hard to see in the little pictures. Nope, not that one either. Oh, when you want to find it, you can't. The wrong guy too. I wish they'd make these things bigger. I know I have the Battle of Sinclair. Where the heck is it? That's got to be this one. Little turtle. No, wrong one. Don't you hate it when that happens? Oh, Sinclair's defeat. Yeah, I got it here. Anyway, Sinclair was defeated. Push that over here. Anyway, Sinclair was wasn't a general. He was a governor of the territory, and he led a force of troops into battle the Indians. Unfortunately, the Indians surrounded him, and because they'd been attacked before, and they weren't going to let that happen. So when the 1,500 fighting force came in, all the Indians got together. You know how it is. You make one mad, and then they all join up, and you really get attacked. But unfortunately, they didn't know what was going on, and they were severely defeated with 900 men getting killed out of the 1,500 or 1,400 that there was, which was quite the defeating battle for that. But then the next one was they got this guy named Mad Anthony Wayne, and we are going to go to this one here. I think it is. Oh, no, it's the next one. Anyway, of course, we have a big fight, fallen timbers here, but we have Mad Anthony Wayne. And Mad Anthony Wayne, they sent him and a bunch of troops to defeat the Indians, and there was plenty of battles. And we can see General Anthony Wayne. Who was this guy? Anthony Wayne, whose grandfather, Captain Anthony Wayne, arrived in Pennsylvania in 1722. He was the youngest son. Isaac received 500 acres of land as a share for his father's estate. His home was on the property of the bequest of the Waynesboro in Easttown Township, Chester County, 5 miles from Valley Forge. Anyway, goes on. He was a big general in the Revolutionary War. It says here in September 11th, again, September 11th, 1777, the American and British forces met at the Battle of Brandywine. Wayne and his troops held off advances by Wilhelm von Kippenhausen's Haitian and British troops, which crossed the Brandywine and the Chad Ford. Wayne, outnumbered, was forced to withdraw. The American army eventually retired to Chester, from Chester to Washington, and wrote the President of Congress in Philadelphia reporting the details of the battle. Anyway, so basically, but they sent, after the Revolutionary War, they sent him out with all these troops to destroy the Indians. And so we'll just make that simple. And he was going to be kind of a big Indian fighter, as you could say. He, led battles, at, well, there was one of our first presidents up there, Henry Harrison, was battling the Indians at Tippecanoe, if you haven't heard that one before. And we have
Tippecanoe and Tyler too.
That's how he got elected. And of course, we have this one, Fallen Timbers. This was the big one here. This kind of
we've talked about Fallen Timbers before also. Go ahead. Yeah. I'm sorry.
This is an absolutely big time thing. Fallen Timbers was one of the most important battles. So now, after the Battle of St. Clair, the Indians were feeling all good.
And let me bring up something too about the battle.
Yes.
Now, at this particular time, their muskets are very rudimentary. Okay. Mm-hmm. And, very rudimentary. And the Indians probably don't have many. So just think about what was going on. They fired their gun once, and it was hand-to-hand combat. So a lot of this stuff that was going on, now, well, the Indians had their bow and arrows, of course, but consider, this battle wasn't with a lot of gunfire and shooting and stuff as you would think. This was hand-to-hand combat with axes and hands and knives and bayonets. So, but anyway.
Yeah. remember the Indians had those war clubs and
Oh yeah.
tomahawks in the war club in hand, and you get that gun and you could shoot one shot, but then it took you a while to reload, and they would stand behind trees to I think I got one here where they're standing behind trees. This is a bad.
Yeah, and if the Indians got to you before you reloaded, well, that was it. So the Indians knew too that if they fired from a certain distance, if it was too far away, the chances of them getting hit were pretty slim, actually. So they felt really brave, during that time. The Indians did, but anyway. But it was a different kind of warfare at that particular time.
Yeah, and you can see by the pictures that there's lots of trees to hide behind, for protection. Instead of fort walls, they had trees, and
the Indians were sort of like the Viet Cong, in that they knew their territory where the British and the Americans didn't.
Yeah.
Because these guys were invading their backyard. And, and they knew their backyard. The Indians knew their backyard. So they might have set up a fort and all this other kind of stuff. But the Indians were like, hey, we've lived here for a long time. This is our home. So the natives also had that extra incentive in that this is our house.
Absolutely. And they're fighting on their own territory.
Right.
Their backyard, not the the other ones. But anyhow, came down to the Battle of Fallen Timbers. And this was one of the most strategic battles ever, because Wayne had went around and he sent his troops around to burn the villages, and the Indians were all mad because they had went around and destroyed the Indian camps. And we can tell by
and that's dirty pool.
It is.
I mean, the natives were like, come on, let's fight. And they were like, come on, while you're fighting, we're going to burn we're going to burn your women and children. Like what? That's dirty pool.
Absolutely. Okay, so here, the Battle of Fallen Timbers was in August of 1794, the final battle of the Northwest Indian War, a struggle between the Native American tribes and the Northwestern Confederacy and their British allies. Of course, the British had already, signed papers with the United States or the colonies saying, hey, we've lost, we're not going to battle you anymore. So, but they didn't say they weren't going to give the Indians guns and ammunition and help them. That's where that Simon Girty came along. Remember, he was influential with the Indians. He was helping them strategically and giving them guns and planning battles and stuff. But he couldn't fight in the battles. He was just kind of like an ambassador, helping them along. You know what I mean? But,
yeah, and it was a good way for the British to get back at the Americans by, giving the Indians guns to subvert what they ran us out, and if we can't have it, well, we'll supply their enemy now.
Yeah,
so that was a hell of a lot of politics back in those days. Okay.
Yeah. So this is in 1794, but here this is what happened is in 1783, the Treaty of Paris, which ended the American Revolutionary War. Great Britain ceded rights to the region northwest of the Ohio River and south of the Great Lakes. Despite the treaty, which ceded the Northwest Territories to the United States, the British maintained a military presence in their forts and continued policies and supported the Native Americans to slow American expansion, which the Indians loved that. They were like, hey, this is great because we don't want them to expand. And they're coming in and taking our land, and you're not. With encroachment of the European settlers west of the Appalachians after the war, a Huron-led confederacy formed in 1785 to resist the people coming onto the Indian lands, declaring the lands northwest of the Ohio River were Indian territory. And so this is where everything goes badly. Of course, the young United States formally organized the Regional Land Ordinance in 1785. See, they counteract things and negotiated treaties allowing settlements of the Western Confederacy. And so they were signing treaties with people and saying, here, we're going to, expand on these lands. And the Indians are like, you just gave away my land. Well, I didn't have a say on it. I'd be mad too. The U.S. retreated to Fort Washington in May of 1791 under Colonel James Wilkinson, and launched what he thought was a clever raid at the Battle of Kepakamawa, something like that. Kepakamawa. Anyway, Wilkinson killed 9 in Miami and captured 34 in Miami as prisoners, including the daughter of Miami War Chief Little Turtle. Many of the Confederation leaders were considering terms of peace to present-day United States, but when they received news of Wilkinson's raid, they readied for war. See, that's the thing. You can't go and capture prisoners and kill their people, and then say, "Here, sign the treaty. We want peace." Yeah. Anyway, Wilkinson's raid just made the opposite effect, uniting the tribes against St. Clair. That's the one where they killed, 900 people out of the 1,400 in 1791. A follow-up campaign was led by Territorial Governor Arthur St. Clair, which was decimated by combined native forces. See, at this point in 1791, the Indians really thought they had it made, but they didn't. They were looking, in a few. They had a few years of goodness there, but of course, what always happens is, the troops got gathered, they got prepared, they got guns, they got a good military leader, this Anthony Wayne, and they went on the march. And Anthony Wayne and brought the Legion of the United States, supported by Charles Scott's Kentucky militia, and they were victorious against the combined native force of the Shawnee under Blue Jacket, the Ottawas under, I don't even know how to spell it, Igashwa, and many others. The battle was brief, lasting little more than 1 hour, but it scattered the Confederated Native American forces. And like I said, then they followed up by the Treaty of Greenville, and the Jay Treaty forced Native Americans' displacement in the most modern-day Ohio, opening it up to a white American settlement. You notice how they put white American settlement, along with withdrawal of the British presence from southern Great Lake regions of the United States. Yeah, that was a bad battle. And like I said, you can see here, he had almost 2,000 troops. The Indians had about 1,000. Why did they call it the Battle of Fallen Timbers? Is because a tornado had went through here and literally ripped up the forest big time, so trees are falling everywhere. And you got to remember, back in those days, trees weren't small, they were huge trees. Because nobody was out there cutting wood. They weren't cutting it down for lumber. When there's a tornado goes through and rips up the trees, you're talking big giant trees.
Yep. And back then they were the ancient trees too.
Yes.
I've got some big pine trees on my property down on the river, and they're 200. The trees are 200 years old. They're huge.
Yeah, can you imagine a whole forest of them? Hundreds and hundreds of those trees, all 200-300 years old, as far as the eye can see, and then they get ripped up. Holy cow, what a mess. It ain't like you're going through with an axe and chopping a road,
That's right.
So anyway, the Indians, as you can see by this map, they were losing, so they retreated. And where did they head? Fort Miami. And up here, there's Simon Girty and the British were in Fort Miami. And
what river is that?
The Maui.
Okay. I can't see it from here. Go ahead. All right. Thank you.
The Maumee River. And so the thing is they retreated up to the fort because that's a British fort. This is a British fort. And this is where the British kept the gates shut and wouldn't let the Indians in. They wouldn't help them. And the troops kept marching, and the Indians kept running because they were outmanned, and they were losing. And eventually they surrendered. They gave up and they signed a treaty. And as you can see, we got as you can see this from the pictures here, how the trees are all mishmashed all over, big giant trees. Even in this picture, there's fallen trees. I can imagine they were probably burning everything in their way too. And here's the troops and the Indians. You can see they got guns, and these guys don't have much guns either. So I guess it's working both ways. So fallen timbers. Well, when they get all done, you have a treaty to be saying. Of course, this was that's too far ahead. We have the Treaty of the Turkey Foot. And
what?
Turkey Foot Rock. On this rock, according to the tradition, Chief Turkey Foot of the Ottawa Indians rallied his warriors during the Battle of Fallen Timbers. Here he was killed, and for many years, tribesmen made offerings of tobacco on the rock to appease the Great Spirit. And so, because in the last picture, you can probably see that that was in the picture there. So, yeah, that was in this picture here. You can see Turkey Foot Rock. So, like right here, so the big chief got killed here, and then always when the chief gets killed, the Indians run. Okay, we're going to go to this battle facts. Results: the United States victory. This was a little further ahead, but you can see that the United States was gaining troops as they knew they had to beat the Indians. And here's the British over here in the United Kingdom. Remember, they had already signed the treaties. They still had their forts here that they weren't well manned. Even though they had the Indians helping fight, and didn't work so well for them.
And one of the things in between the times when the forts weren't manned, that they were going back and pulling prisoners out of the dungeons and stuff, and putting a uniform on them and sending them over.
Absolutely, anywhere you can.
And the people that were in jail, they were like, "Hey, you can get out of jail," because they had an overpopulation and so forth in England and over there. So anything to get rid of the prisoners, and so they go, "Okay, here, put on this uniform, and and we'll set you free, but you're going to America." Okay, I'll go. Anyway, yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I agree. So, General Anthony Wayne came here, Indiana Territory, and built a fort here, which today is, Fort Wayne, Indiana, and it still stands today. Maybe not the fort, but I think there's a monument there or something. But as you can see, Little Turtle did end up surrendering. And let's see a little bit about General Anthony Wayne. In the house in which the Revolutionary leader and Indian fighter was born, January 1st, 1745, stands about a mile away. Died at Erie, Pennsylvania, December 15th, 1796. Now buried at St. Davis Church, 4.5 miles away. So anyway, he's got that.
Wow, he died in Pennsylvania and they drug him back?
Yeah. Well, that's
that was a big deal back then.
Yeah, they move a lot of those people around. You know what I mean? Anyway, there he is in his older years. And no, this is Little Turtle. But anyway, like I said, there was a lot of fighting going on, and they eventually settled and signed a treaty, ceding their lands. That's the ball. Oh, there's the lands here. But as things moved on, let's move ahead. Okay. They moved on. Well, then there was the War of 1812 here, the Americans finally assembled their troops, and the War of 1812 was to get rid of the British from these forts in the Upper Peninsula in Michigan and areas like that. And that's what the War of 1812 was all about. The British had the Indians fighting for them. They had the Battle of Tippecanoe. It was fought between American soldiers and the Native American warriors along the banks of Kippecanoe, a river in the heart of central Indiana, following the Treaty of Fort Wayne in 1809. The agreement requiring Indian tribes to sell 3 million acres of land to the United States government. A Shawnee chief named Tecumseh organized a confederation of Native Americans to combat the horde of prisoners or pioneers flooding into native lands. And of course, we have Governor William Henry Harrison, who became president, to lead roughly 1,000 soldiers and militia to destroy the Shawnee village of Prophetstown, named for Tecumseh's brother. I remember he was the prophet. It was designed by Tecumseh to be the heart of the new Native American Confederacy. Like I said, these Indians in that area were well civilized. They had their own villages set up. They were trading for things. They were by no means savages at that point.
They had their stuff together.
Yes, and that's why they were such a battling force, because you're battling people who they may speak a different language, but they've been living on the land for thousands of years there, perhaps. And they knew the land. They had weapons pretty much because the British had given them all the guns and ammo they wanted. And now they're fighting for the British, literally. They were wearing coats made by the British. A weary Harrison agreed to, and when Harrison arrived the evening of November 6, 1811, he was met with a white flag by one of the Tenowascana followers, who requested a ceasefire, and the two leaders, Harrison and Tecumseh, parley before any action was taken. Such a parley would mean a delay, as Tecumseh was not at Prophetstown, having gone south to recruit warriors from the 5 civilized tribes. You notice how they say it? The civilized tribes. That's what I was saying. They had set up towns. People did trading there, but they were experiencing this encroachment on their lands. It seemed that these European Americans who were coming across to find the new lands, some guy in Washington was signing papers saying, "Yep, look at that land is now, your land, and you can go settle it." You see what I mean here? And then you can see by this picture here. Look at Fort Wayne Treaty. Oh, we gained this land. Treaty of Greenville, gained this land. Treaty of Grouseland, gained this land. Oh, Treaty of St. Mary's, gained all this land. Treaty of Water.
Also, by that time, the Louisiana Purchase had been made.
Yeah. Well,
so now, where the French had legally owned it, now the United States legally owned it.
Yeah.
Which made a difference in that, wait a minute, the French used to own it. We couldn't really, complain about that too much. But we own it now, so damn it, go ahead, pioneers, move west.
Exactly. So as they moved in and moved west, they made all these treaties with the Indians little by little. Here's the Treaty of Tippecanoe, 1832. Like I said, that 1832, think about that. They're still fighting these wars and making treaties, and anyway, yeah. So
like it's been about 75 years they've been fighting.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been fighting and fighting and fighting. Okay. So the 19 so he had much of Harrison's front lines were manned by militia with 300 regulars in reserve to reinforce the untested militia in their lines faltered, blah, 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 yellow. So the Confederacy stood in Prophetstown on a rock ledge called Prophet's Rock, rallied his people into battle, singing war songs and chanting incantations, and he promised he would protect them from bullets, which probably didn't. At dawn the next morning, Harrison's men were completely surrounded by Tenowasca's warriors. The warriors made a diversionary attack on the northern end of the American rectangle, drawing the first shots of the battle, immediately waking the rest of Harrison's sleeping force. Soon after, a fierce attack on the southern flank caused Spencer's Yellow Jackets to waver and retreat after Captain Spencer and 2 commanding lieutenants were felled by swarming warriors. Harrison was able to quell the chaos by transversing Captain David Robb and the Indiana mounted rifles from their position at the northern flank of the rectangle to form a southern flank, and withdrew, and Harrison's men were able to bolster their defenses. However, the Braves then mounted a second wave of attack, its timing hitting both the northern and southern flanks of the rectangle. Again, the southern flank was engulfed in most intense fighting, but freshly reinforced lines were able to hold the northern flank. And it goes on and on. A whole war description. But like I said, these were quite the battles. I can go on and on. I mean, this was crazy stuff. I wouldn't want to be in those battles. Bullets, flying all over the place. But eventually, you have the Indians surrendering and making a treaty, obviously, because we wouldn't be here now. And they surrendered, and ceded their lands. It's kind of sad, but that's the kind of the way it goes. And as you can see, their lands were plenty. I mean, they had all of this, and each time the American people moved west, the Indians moved west too. kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and not fair at all.
No, not fair. As you can see, Indiana was a big play territory. Ohio, and I really never associated Indiana with being a battlefield. But you have Fort Wayne here, a lot of battles. Battle of Minneswaska, Battle of Tippecanoe, Spurs defeat, Fort Harrison, attack of the Narrows, and it just goes on and on. And like, wow, I didn't know that Indiana was such a battlefield with the Indians back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of history that's right in front of our faces that we didn't know that existed. Isn't that something?
And there were a lot of places that had battles, skirmishes, and whatever, because it was an ongoing war. The natives, it was their land, and and the white folks, had decided to take it over.
Yeah,
and they did.
And like I said, the Battle of Tippecanoe, 1811. Of course, Tecumseh wasn't there. He was a surrender of the Native Americans under Tinnewaska, the prophet brother of Tecumseh. And each time they surrendered, they made him sign a treaty, and they gained more land. It was a kind of a win-win for the American soldier people, because it was like, hey, we win the war on this battle, and we will gain a bunch of land for the next time.
Gain more territory.
Yeah, every single time. It just got better and better for them, even though you may lose a few battles or a few people. It doesn't seem to matter. You just get more people and go with more battles, because hey, we got plenty of people that are willing to join up and fight, and then we'll give them a free plot of land, and they'll do pretty much anything. Whereas the Indians, they couldn't grasp the concept, I guess, of how land could just be owned. Like Tecumseh said, or hey, how do you own the air, and how do you own the trees and the water, and well, don't worry, some white man will think of a way to do it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it goes. We never thought
that water would be sold in a bottle,
No, yeah, exactly. If you really stop and think about it, all these guys I've noticed were born around the same time too. Tecumseh, little Turtle, Blue Jacket was kind of much earlier. But all these guys were born, and they all kind of died around the same time too. It's kind of weird and eerie when you think about it.
Yeah. Strange notions.
Yes, it is.
And so, we've got to segue into our story for tonight. Absolutely. I think we were done there, right?
Yeah, I'm finishing. I just want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat.
Oh, go ahead.
I mean to ignore anybody. We got Mark the Spark Arc. Doing my presentation, I can't put things up on the screen so good. We got Saturnian Sun. We got Aaron's Energy in the house today. I can feel the energy. Seeker of Truth too. Thank you. Chloe is in the house. Chloe. We got Lucky Stone is in the house, and he says something about Reagan is it President Harrison? Yeah, I missed that one. Lucky's always got good stuff to talk about. Here it goes. President Harrison, the oldest man at age 68 before Ronald Reagan, age 69, Trump, age 70, and Biden was 78. And soon Biden will be 80 and get reelected again, right? Yeah, that choked you up too, doesn't it? Commentator, I haven't seen you here before, but thank you for being here. There you go. Let's see. Let's see. Travis the Architect is in the house. And Deborah L. Smith, thank you for joining us tonight. And Queen Peachy Queen is here. Peachy Queen. And Jackie J. Thank you, Susie Q, for showing up tonight. And Elderberry, I hope them chickens are doing good. Anyway, so there we go. And now it's time for story time. A little bit early tonight. Thank goodness I'm getting better at putting it all together. Sometimes I cipher a little bit, but I'm taking notes now, people. Taking notes. It turns out a little bit better.
And I didn't interrupt you near as many times tonight, too.
Oh, that's all right. Sometimes I get off on track and you bring me right back on.
Or sometimes I get you off track. It works that way too.
It's all good in the end, because hey, it's all part.
It's all about the information.
Yes, it's all about the information. Sometimes sidetracking brings up other questions, and questions are good. See, I think that's the problem we don't have nowadays. People don't question things enough. And then therefore, you got people just let it go. Like, I'm going to present some information, and then you're just going to accept that my information's true. Don't, that's not it. Question all the information. I might be wrong. I might have skipped. I know I skipped a bunch of battles. I know that probably not all the things I say are quite correct. I'm going by books and things. I wasn't there at those battles. None of us were. But we're just going on about for what they say and kind of putting two and two together. Isn't that kind of true?
Yeah, and there is some history from that back then too. So, with landmarks and, and plaques and things, and which is interesting because, they put plaques up and things early on, but later on when they started conquering the West, they gave up on, it became a real war. And unless there was something really big, they ignored any kind of, let's put a plaque up here, or, you know what I mean? Or let's acknowledge that, there was a lot of people died here, or, it was up to the Native Americans to say, wait a minute, this is Little Bighorn. This is, these are things that, should be marked. For historical purposes, even for their own peoples, Yeah. But anyway, but it's just interesting. There are a lot of plaques and things and stuff, in the East, but when you get west of the Mississippi, that kind of goes away. Just saying.
Well, there's plaques out west. I stop at a lot of them out here, but I think people just don't stop as much as they used to. They use, I think they just don't stop to read them or look at them.
So they do have some up there?
Oh, we got lots of them out here.
Oh, well, good.
Pictures of when you go down some of these roads and there's markers, here this battle, or Custer, like just up the road here, it was Custer came through this area in such and such with his troops on the march to look for Sitting Bull or something like that. I'll have to take a picture and send it to you, but yeah,
Oh, wow.
pretty interesting, just because.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
So cool. Yeah. Anyway, what do you got for us tonight? And I'm going to present this here.
Segueing into our story for tonight is Turkey's brother goes in search of a wife.
Nice. Everybody needs a wife.
I was just sitting here thinking, now who in the heck would want to go search for one?
Especially a turkey.
Yeah. I've read through this story, and it's an interesting story and an interesting ending. Just, not to give anything away, but I hope y'all like it. Okay, we ready?
Well, the floor is yours.
All righty then. Let me get a sip of coffee, and I want to wish everyone well and hope that you're doing as well as possible. And we're always praying for you folks, and that you're doing good. So tonight's story: Turkey's brother goes in search of a wife. The characters for tonight are Gas Yondietha, meteor, and then Otsun, turkey, and Tikwadu Huishi, woodchuck leggings, the deceiver. An old man had two nephews, one perhaps 15 or 16, the other 2 or 3 years old. The three lived together in a bark house in the woods. When the uncle went hunting, the elder brother stayed at home. When the young man was hunting, the uncle was at home, for the younger boy was too small to be left alone. One day, the elder brother said, "Uncle, if you will kill a turkey, I will make a coat for my little brother to wear." "How can you do that?" asked the uncle. "Oh, I will skin the turkey and make a feather coat." The next day, the uncle brought home a large white turkey gobbler. The young man took the skin off from the head, legs, and body in one piece. Then he rubbed the skin and made it soft, and when it was ready, he put it on the little boy. It fitted him nicely, for he was the same size as the turkey. He put his feet into the skin of the legs and his arms into the wings, and then went around hunting for beech nuts. He could fly onto trees, and he looked exactly like a turkey, so they called him Otsun, turkey. The uncle and nephews lived together till the elder nephew was old enough to marry. Then the uncle said to him, "I am tired of cooking. I want to eat food cooked by a woman. You are old enough to marry. The chief of a village far from here has 3 daughters. You can get one of them for the asking." "Very well, I will go and ask for her," said the young man, and he began to get ready. Turkey wanted to go too, but his brother said, "You must stay at home with our uncle. How can we leave him alone?" "I don't want to stay here," said Turkey. "I want to go with you." No matter how the brother and uncle coaxed or scolded Turkey, he insisted, and at last they told him he could go. "Now, nephew," said the uncle, "you must have an outfit. They must see that you are a great man. I will give you what I have." He brought a coat of wildcat skin and put it on the young man. Then, standing back and looking at him, he said, "That is not good enough." He brought a lynx skin. That didn't please him. "Oh," said he, "I have another coat. That's the one for you." He brought a Gassiondeetha skin, coat with the head for a cap. Whenever the wearer was angry, the head would roar. In the cap, he put 2 loon feathers that sang all the time. "This will do," said the old man. "Now they will see you as you are." He gave the young man beautiful moccasins with leggings to match and a pouch of fisher skin. Whenever an enemy came near, the fisher would snap at him and bite him. In the pouch was a pipe. The bowl of the pipe was a bullfrog, the stem a water snake. When the young man began to smoke, the bullfrog croaked and the snake wriggled and tried to swallow the frog. The uncle said, "Now, my nephew, go straight toward the west. It is a long journey. We are the only ones left of our nation. All of our people have been captured and carried off. That is why you must go so far for a wife. When halfway to the chief's village, you will see a spring on one side of the trail. Don't stop there or touch the water. Farther on, about halfway between the spring and the chief's house, you will meet an old man. He is a great thief. Don't stop with him or listen to him." The brothers set out at sunrise, and at midday they came to the spring. Though it was a year's journey for an ordinary person, as soon as the elder brother saw the spring, he was thirsty and wanted to drink. The turkey said, "Our uncle told us not to touch that water." They were passing the spring when the elder brother looked again at the water, and this time he was so thirsty that Turkey couldn't keep him from drinking. Lying down, he had just touched the water with his lips when something caught him by the hair and pulled him into the spring. But he grasped the creature and struggled hard, got out of the water, bringing the creature with him. It was not a man, though it looked something like one. It gasped and begged, "Oh, grandson, throw me back! Oh, grandson, throw me back!" "No, you can stay where you are," said the young man. He lay down again to drink, and a second creature caught him. He pulled that one out. "Oh, grandson," it gasped, "throw me back, throw me back." A third time he lay down to drink, and this time he was undisturbed. The water was sweet and cool. When he had finished drinking, he killed the 2 creatures. With Turkey's help, he gathered all the dry sticks he found, put the creatures on the pile, and burned them to ashes. Then the 2 traveled on. In the middle of the afternoon, they came to a place where there were many tall trees, and around one of them, an old man was running as fast as he could go. When he saw the young man, he called out to him, "Oh, my grandson, shoot! Look, such a nice fat coon. Shoot him for me." He begged so hard that the young man shot at the coon. The arrow stuck in his body, and the coon ran into a hole in the tree, as the young man thought. "Oh, we must find the coon," said the old man. "You mustn't lose your arrow. Go into the hole and pull him out, but take off your clothes so as not to spoil them." You needn't be afraid. I won't touch them. I am going in too. The young man took off his coat, leggings, and moccasins and put them on the ground, then climbed the tree, the old man following him. When they came to the hole, the young man looked into it, and right at hand, as he thought, saw the coon. He reached in to pull the arrow out, but that instant the old man pushed him, and down he went through the hollow tree to the very bottom. There was no coon in the tree. The old man slipped to the ground, put on the young man's coat, leggings, and moccasins, and taking his pouch and bow and arrows, started off westward toward the chief's village. Turkey cried a long time for his brother. Then he flew onto a tree and sat there moaning. The elder brother thought, now I am in trouble. My uncle told me not to listen to that old man. There was no way of getting out of the hole, for the sides were as smooth as ice. On the ground at the bottom were the bones of people who had been thrown in by the old man. Toward morning, the young man remembered that in his boyhood a great spider had appeared to him in a dream and said, if you ever get into trouble, I will help you. Oh, spider, cried he, come and help me now. That minute, a great spider came to the opening and began to make a web. When the web reached the bottom of the hole, the spider called out, now climb. The young man started, but wasn't halfway up when the web broke. Oh, spider, moaned he, you are not strong enough to help me. Then he remembered that in his boyhood, a black snake had appeared to him in a dream and had promised to help him if he were in trouble. Oh, black snake, cried he, help me now. Straightway, a black snake looked into the hole. Then it slipped its body down till the end of it reached the ground. The young man took a hold of it. The snake coiled itself up, brought him to the top, and then disappeared. When Turkey saw his brother, he was glad. He flew to the ground and said, now we must go home. No, said the young man. We must go to the chief's village. I will put on the old man's clothes. As soon as he had on the stiff leggings, the torn moccasins, and the dirty blanket, his voice grew weak, and he began to cough. And right away he looked and felt like an old man. The thief, meanwhile, felt young and strong and could travel fast. In front of the chief's village was a broad river. When the thief came to it, he shouted for someone to ferry him across. The chief's eldest daughter rode over in a canoe, and seeing a fine-looking man, she asked, where did you come from, and where are you going? I came from the east. I am going to the chief's house. I am looking for a wife, and I have heard that he has 3 daughters. I am his eldest daughter, said the girl. I think you would suit me. Very well, answered the thief. Then you are my husband, said the girl. She led him to her father's house, and showing him a couch covered with beautiful skins, said, that is your place. The next evening, Turkey and his brother came to the river. The old man shouted for someone to come and row them over, but his voice was so weak and thin that for a long time he wasn't heard. At last, someone on the opposite bank said, an old man and a turkey want to cross the river. The chief's youngest daughter got her canoe, and went over. She asked the old man who he was and where he came from. I came from the east, said he. I am looking for a wife. Looking for a wife? Why, you are too old, said the girl. I am young, but maybe I look old. Here is my brother. He is a little boy. Did you come from beyond the wizard spring? Asked the girl. I did, and I cleared the spring of two strange creatures. Did you meet an old man? I did, and that is why I look old. He stole my clothes. This is the man we are waiting for, thought the girl. I'll marry him. She rowed him across the river, led him to the chief's house, and pointing out a couch covered with beautiful skin, said, That is your place. Above the couch was a smaller one. The girl said, Your brother can have that place up there. When the girl's family saw the husband she had chosen, they were dissatisfied and tried to persuade the chief to drive him out. But he said, Let the girl alone. She knows what she's doing. The husband and wife lived quietly for a number of days. Then the husband said, I am sick. Go to your father and ask him for his best bowl. She brought the bowl, and the man filled it with beautiful black wampum. Take this wampum to your father, said he, and say that I give it to him. Oh, said the chief when he saw the wampum, I knew he was a great man. He is the greatest man I have ever heard of. This is beautiful wampum. When the husband of the eldest sister heard that what had happened, he said to his wife, Ask your father for his best bowl. I am sick. She brought the bowl, but in place of filling it with wampum, he filled it with lizards and foul things. The chief was angry and said to his daughter, Go to the river, wash the bowl, and scrape it clean. A few days later, the husband of the youngest sister said, Go and ask your father for his bowl. She brought the bowl, and he filled it with beautiful white wampum. The chief was delighted and said, My son-in-law is a great man. He comes from the wampum people. When the thief heard about the white wampum, he sent for the chief's bowl, but again he filled it with lizards and foul things. And again his wife spent a whole day at the river cleaning and scouring the bowl. Now Wild Eat and Fox came to see the youngest sister's husband, for they were his friends. After a while, Fox spied Turkey sitting on his shelf over his brother's couch. And he said to Wildcat, That's a nice gobbler you have up there. Can't you get him for us? That night, Wildcat crawled down the smoke hole till he could reach Turkey. Turkey was sitting with his eyes wide open. He saw Wildcat and waited till he was near. Then he raised his club and struck him with a heavy blow that he fell into the fire. And before he could get out, his coat was so singed and burned that to this day, wildcats have yellow, smoky coats. Wildcat screamed, Oh, I've had a fit. I fell into the fire and am burned. You can't have fits here, said the eldest sister, and jumping up, she pushed Wildcat out of the house. Fox was waiting outside. That's not a turkey, said Wildcat. That's a wizard. He will kill us. The two hurried off without saying goodbye to their friend. "Ask your father for his bow and arrows," said the young man to his wife. She brought them, and the next day he killed more deer than had ever been killed in that place. The game was carried to the chief's house, and all the people had enough to eat. No man was left without meat, and everybody wondered at the great number of deer killed. The chief notified the people that there would be a council at daybreak the next morning. Everyone was awake early except the chief's eldest daughter and her husband. They were sound asleep. While they slept, the young man took his coat, leggings, moccasins, and pouch from the thief and put them on. Then he went to the council. "Get up," said the mother, shaking her daughter. "Your husband must go to the council." Then, glancing at the man, she started back in fright and cried, "What a looking husband you have!" As soon as the clothes were gone, the man was old and shrunken, with a face like an owl's. The young woman woke up and, looking at her husband, was frightened to see what an ugly old creature he was. She pulled him up, pushed him out of the house, and said, "I won't have you for a husband." The thief disappeared and was never seen again. When the young man went into the council house, he was fine looking and strong. He opened his pouch, took out his pipe, lighted it, and began to smoke. The bullfrog croaked, the snake wriggled, and tried to swallow the frog. Then all the people said, "We have never seen such a powerful man." The young man said to his father-in-law, "Now that I have my clothes, I must go to my uncle who lives in the east." "We will go with you," said the chief. And the people shouted, "We will go too." "My brother and I will go ahead," said the young man. And turning to Turkey, he said, "Now, brother, take off your turkey skin and dress as other boys do." Turkey took off the skin and looked fine in his new blanket and leggings. The brothers went home in one day. The chief and his people were a long time on the road. The uncle was glad to see his nephews and to welcome the chief. This is my story. The end.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I thought that was a good one too. I mean, that there wasn't any head chopping, but he, did bonk the one in the head, and and they did kill the two creatures out of the spring, but they could have been catfish, but there wasn't any major bloodletting, so which is good. I like that.
It was a good story. Good story. Secret Truth says, good story. Yep. That is for sure. Gotta love the good story. It was kind of a long one too.
Yeah, not too bad. And it kind of went along well. That was a good story. Some of them are like, and they kind of choppy or whatever, but this one flowed nice. And
yeah.
And so
it was kind of like a little adventure. I like that.
Yep. That's a good one. Kind of like a little adventure. Yeah.
Mark says, what? No head hunting tonight? Well, no stone coats tonight. Mary,
yeah, there you go. No stone coats.
Mary, quite contrary.
How does your garden grow?
Yes, and speaking of gardens, it's almost gardening season. I tell
I'm late down here putting in a garden.
The next days off I have, I'm planting something. It's going to be probably potatoes.
At least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got this box. I don't know, maybe here somewhere. But anyway, got all these cool kind of potatoes. Fingerlings and red potatoes, white potatoes. They're red and or white and they got red centers, and some are purple. And oh man, so it's going to be a fun garden to grow this year. Plus, I got a lot of purple ones. Anyway, okay.
Purple. You mean purple potatoes? Taters?
Yeah, purple potatoes. Who doesn't like purple potatoes? They're colorful, all at the same time. You ever make purple potato mashed potatoes? It's like
no.
Yeah. It's just purple coloring from the skins and the insides, but it's just kind of cool because you're so used to eating white mashed potatoes, and now they're purple. Yeah, and let's see here. I'm trying to figure this all out. Anyway, commentator. I love that. Commentator. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's a few ways back. Secret Truth has you got your carrots and potatoes in. Too soon. We have all kinds of potatoes. We have purple potatoes too. Yes, purple potatoes. Yeah, they just taste all the same, but they love the color. Purple is a great color. I got red ones too with red centers, so I'm gonna have red mashed potatoes when I get them all grown up. And Chloe is home just in time for the card reading.
Yep. And here we are too.
You gonna have a show tonight?
Yeah, I hope so.
Right.
And I got 4 cards that were thrown to me tonight.
Holy cow, 4 of them.
Yeah, and antelope is first one up. The next one up is hawk, upside down. The third one up is mountain lion, up. And the last one that just had to come out was otter, and it's up. So we've had a lot of upside down cards here the last few weeks, and we've got 3 up and 1 down. But anyway, so antelope, number 37.
What would you say? Antelope, mountain lion, hawk, and what other one?
And otter.
Oh, otter. Okay.
And we haven't had these in a while. I think we've had otter probably the most recent, but it's been a while since we've had these cards.
Yes, and hawk. We haven't had hawk in a while. I know that.
Yep. So antelope is action. When time was just beginning and the tribe of man was small, antelope saw that the 2-leggeds were naked and hungry and in danger of extinction. The ancestors would soon vanish from Mother Earth if action were not taken. So antelope took action and came into the camp and calling to the 2-leggeds together for a council. The great mystery has sent me to teach you a lesson. The lesson is to do. You have no need to be fearful if you know what to do, and then you do it, antelope said. And what shall we do, said the people. If you are naked and cold, you should kill me and take my coat to keep you warm. It is my gift to you. Do it. We will, said the people, but what of our hunger? We are starving. What can we do to save ourselves? If you are hungry, you should kill me and take my flesh, for it will nourish you and make you strong. It is my gift to you and part of my evolution. It is my service. Do it. Antelope knew that humankind would survive the Ice Age if the people learned to eat meat. Before the movement of the great ice mountains, fruit and vegetables had been plentiful, and the 2-leggeds had no need to eat of the bodies of their fellow creatures. The clans of the second world ate antelope, taking the instinct and the wisdom of the 4-leggeds into their bodies. The people learned through each other, through the creature's essence, how to survive. Humans learned antelope's lessons well. Because of the antelope, humans took proper action and survived to this present day. Antelope signifies knowledgeable action. Antelope is a symbol for the antenna of your hair, which attaches you to the great mystery by its long cords of light. Looking at antelope, you become aware of your mortality and the short time span you have on this planet. With this in mind, you must act accordingly. Proper action pleases the great mystery. Think about that one. Proper action pleases the great mystery. Antelope medicine is the knowledge of life's circle. Knowing of death, antelope can truly live. Action is the key and essence of living. Think about that. Action is the essence and key to living. Antelope powers have been courted and shamanized since the dawn of time. Antelope clans have been many, and the power of the antelope people is great. Antelope medicine gives you strength of mind and heart, and the ability to take quick and decisive actions to get things accomplished. Always listen to what antelope has to say to you. Antelope in your cards indicates a message of higher purpose. Antelope arms you with the bow of authority and forces you to act on the behalf of self, of family, clan, nation, and finally, Mother Earth. They want me to read that again. Antelope arms you with the bow of authority and forces you to act on behalf of yourself, family, the clan, the nation, and finally, Mother Earth. Antelope says, do it now, don't wait any longer. Antelope knows the way, and so do you. Take courage and leap. Your sense of timing is perfect. When antelope has bounded into your cards, the time is now. The power is you. So there you go. How about that one? That's a strong card right there. And Robert was just talking about planting a garden. The time is now. It's with an exclamation point. So next one up in the cards is Hawk. And we go from 37 in the book all the way back to the other end to number 2. And I got my feathers on tonight. Hawk, messenger of the sky, circle my dreams and teach me the message as we fly. Hawk is akin to Mercury, the messenger of the gods. Hawk medicine teaches you to be observant, to look at your surroundings. Observe the obvious in everything that you do. Life is sending you signals. Life is the initiation. If you pulled the Hawk card, then right now a clue about the magic of life is being brought to you. This magic can imbue you with the power to overcome a currently stressful or difficult situation. The test is your ability to observe the nuances of power lurking nearby. Is the power the talent you have and you are not using? Are solutions always hard to find because you have lost the broader vision of Hawk? Or is the Great Spirit displaying a gift that you need only to receive? Now, this one was upside down. If you have drawn Hawk upside down, it may be because you have shut down your powers of observation on some level. If something in your life has become too painful to feel or too unbelievable to hear, and there are a lot of things these days that are too unbelievable to hear or too dark to see, it is time to examine the point at which you chose to let yourself become emotionally involved. Now, I've talked about over the years, to become the observer and to try to keep your emotions out of things. Here's Hawk saying basically the same thing. It is time to examine the point at which you chose to let yourself become emotionally involved and to no longer be the observer. When you allow your emotions to override your perceptions, the message from Hawk cannot penetrate the chaos and the confusion. At this point, you are asked to be mindful of the honest observer's neutral position, which allows the message to be intuitively and clearly understood without emotion coloring this true meaning. In other words, you have to be quiet and not be thinking one way or the other of anything, because then the message will come to you. Emotional coloring is a tendency of Hawk medicine people when they are off balance. Their emotions can cloud their vision and lead to a crash landing. The ego can clip the wings and leave Hawk grounded. Also, if Hawk believes that those who cannot fly the same way he or she does, that they have weaker perceptions, then the winged messenger has not understood his or her own medicine. In other words, if you try to judge somebody else, well, I'm better than you, I can fly higher than you. Freedom of flight is a privilege, and being a messenger is an honor. Take your flight and forget about interpreting what the omen on your own way. Let the receiver decide what the message means. After all, unless it was sent specifically for you, you would be tampering with the message. So, their message is coming, stay out of the chaos, keep being the observer, take action. Next one is Mountain Lion, number 17. Strong message tonight, man. And, here's Mountain Lion. Mountain Lion is leadership. Mountain Lion, O kingly leader of sleek feline form, touch my heart with courage and then sound the alarm, that I may lead with foresight, assurance bright and true, to carry on the spirit of the strength I see in you. Mountain Lion is leadership, number 17 in the book. Mountain Lion can be a very difficult power totem for you to have because it places you in a position to be a target for the problems of others. You could be blamed for things going wrong or for always taking charge when others cannot. So, Antelope says to, take action. So, here's Mountain Lion, leadership. You could become the perfect justification for the insecurities of others. Mountain Lion medicine involves lessons on the use of power in leadership. It is the ability to lead without insisting that others follow. It is the understanding that all beings are potential leaders in their own ways. The use and abuse of power in a position of influence are part of this great cat's medicine. Leadership without forcing others to follow. That's a good trick. By observing the graceful pounce of Mountain Lion, you will learn how to balance power, intention, physical strength, and grace. This relates in human terms to the balance of the body, the mind, and the spirit. The giant feline never wastes anything. It only kills what it needs for survival. The female lion is the hunter who graces her table in a style akin to mother energy. If Mountain Lion has come into you, it is a time to stand on your convictions and lead yourself where your heart takes you. That's interesting. You know, the antelope's telling you to act now, hawk's telling you to keep an eye on stuff, and mountain lions telling you to stand on your convictions and lead yourself where your heart takes you. In assuming the place of power that mountain lion affords, you must constantly be aware of keeping pace. However, you can never make everybody happy unless you lie to yourself or others. This is such a good line. You must constantly aware of keeping peace. I thought it said pace. However, you can never make everybody happy unless you lie to yourself or others. Responsibility is no more than the ability to respond to any situation. Panic is not a part of this sacred medicine. And the last one in there is number 8, otter. Strong medicine tonight. All good stuff. And number 8 is woman medicine, otter. Otter so playful, coquettes by the stream. Medicine of woman, the realized dream. The medicine held by otter is a set of lessons in female energy. This applies to both men and women, as well as all of us have female sides. The otter's hide is very often used to make medicine bags for powerful women because it represents balanced female energy. Otter is always on the moon and is very curious. Unlike other animals, otter will not start a fight unless it is attacked first. This joyful little creature is adventuresome and assumes that all other creatures are friendly until proven otherwise. It may be time to examine your feelings about sharing the bounty of your life with others. Otter may be saying that the finer qualities of women need to be striven for in both men and women, so that a unity of spirit can be achieved. Now, you know, y'all, that there's all this arguing about who's a man, who's a woman, who's a what, and who's a that. You know, and here's Otter is saying, you know, Otter may be saying that the finer qualities of woman need to be striven for in both men and women, so that a unity of spirit can be achieved. This would involve the destruction of jealousy and of all the acts of anger which stem from that fear. So if you've drawn this symbol, Otter may be telling you to become the playful child and to simply allow things to unfold in your life. It may be time to stop your addiction to worrying. Otter also teaches the importance of not hanging on to material things that would bind you or become a burden for you. So that's pretty interesting messages for tonight. Let me tell you what. Antelope, action. Hawk, keep an eye out. You know, you must be hiding and not looking, and you allowing your emotions to cloud your visions. Mountain lion, you know, and also with otter, to be joyful, you know. So have strength. Stand up, do your stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
And be playful, you know, like otter. Whoop. Knocked over the phone.
Oh, par for tonight, right?
So how was that?
It was good. It was good. It was good. If I could figure out how this darn thing is working, I messed with some buttons and I am all lost. This crazy thing. Anyway, it was so far so good. Yep. Anyway, Otter was good. Hawk was good. And like I said, it is sending quite the message tonight. It is sending quite a message. Something to discuss, right?
Yeah. And it's a bit, in past messages, it's been not necessarily glum, but, this has been really all up, and even the upside down hawk, don't let your emotions cloud your vision, that's always a good one,
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it's 11:44. My goodness, we got finished early.
We did. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know. It's like pretty fast. But you got a show, and you're going to do a show tonight, so that'll give you a little time to get a cup of coffee and get go.
Yeah, go get my supper that I didn't get. Yeah, get my supper I didn't eat. So yeah.
That's right. My dogs are saying, yep, it's the same thing. They're ready to go outside too. So maybe everybody's a little bit early, but I want to say thank you to everybody who joined us tonight. Mary Wins, Mark the Spark Arc, Speaker of Truth, Richard's in the house, Deborah L. Smith. Thank you all, Mary Wins, for staying up late with us tonight and enjoying the conversation and staying for the cards and the story, which I think everybody likes, probably more than my telling of the history. But some people, everybody what did I do? Everybody enjoys a little bit of something. That's all I can say. A little bit of something. And Mary says, love one. Of course it did. Absolutely. With that, thank you for being on, and hopefully we'll catch up with you soon. And we'll
thank you all. We love you.
We'll be watching you tonight, and if I don't, I'll catch you on the replay later. But for us, we're going to be signing off, but I want everybody to go home with a little smile and say, I'm going to make my life better, and my cup will spilleth on over to everybody else and make their day too. And have like he says, have a wonderful rest of the week. Yes, ground yourself. I got that from Lucky today. And I thought, it is getting to be summer. It's time to kick those shoes off and put your feet on the ground. And so ground yourself. If you want an affirmation for that, go over to Lucky's channel and check it out. He's got a lot of good affirmations for talking about that kind of stuff. Anyway, with that, remember, go out and do something nice for somebody. When your cup spilleth over, it spills onto others in a good way. And with that brings out the best of us. Remember, be the frequency you want to receive, everybody. Love y'all. Peace, everybody.
Cheers.